400-pound gorilla here today, and we are going to look at 7 blades under $7. We're going to start out today with the Sanrenmu 4077. You can see it has a little carabiner clip. It also has a little hex wrench, tiny hex wrench on the end, and a nice little inlay. Looks very distinctive with the Sanrenmu logo on it. On the opposite side, you can see the nomenclature of the blade and then the Maya design. This is a non-locking blade. You can look at the centering there, very thin. It has sort of a green accent to the liner. And let's open her up. You can see that the carabiner flips around. Now it does click in with some type of detent lock, but it is a non-locking blade. It's 1.65 inches or about 4.2 centimeters. The overall length is 4¼ inches, which is about 10.8 centimeters. It weighs 60 grams or about 2.11 ounces. Now, when I bought it, I think it was $5.12. I think I've checked more recently, and it was up to $6.60, which still makes it fall into our under $7 category. I have not been able to find or identify the steel on this, so I'm just going to say it's a mystery steel, but it appears to be certainly fine for every light-duty, day-to-day cutting tasks. If you need to cut open a package, you need to cut some twine, or carve out a coupon, or something along those lines, it's certainly sufficient for that. It breaks fairly, firmly. You can hear that snap in on both sides of that, and if you need to clip it to a little hook off of one of your packs or something like that for easy access, you can do it. And certainly at those dimensions, it's not going to take up a lot of room in your pocket either. So this is the first of our choices, Sanrenmu 4077. Next up on the hit parade of 7 knives under $7 is the Sanrenmu 6040, also sometimes designated as the ZB 681. This is a really nice little pocket knife. This one does lock, has a lock back. Notice those metal liners. Pocket clip for tip up right side carry. If I get a little bit close up on the blade, you can see the Sanreimu and the 681 designation on there. The material, handle material, seems to be some type of PA66, which, the injection molded plastic Zytel or something along those lines. I'm sure it's not using that trade name, but overall, even though, you can see this pretty much fits literally in the palm of the hand, it's a nice little knife, very sharp. Again, no listing of what the blade steel is, but if I was going to guesstimate based on other knives that I have in my collection, I'd say something along the lines of 8CR 13 or 14 MOV steel. You do have some jimping on the back, dual thumb studs, and on the dimensions on this one, you've got a 2.36 inch blade, which is 6 centimeters. You've got a overall length of 5.3 inches or about 13.5 centimeters, and this one weighs a whopping 33 grams or about 1.16 ounces. At the time I ordered it, it was $4.74. I think these are up to about $5.12 now. So this would be a great knife to essentially put on a key ring. Got a little lanyard hole in the back, big enough to get maybe some hollowed out paracord. If you took the strands out, you could fit it in there. You might be able to get a paracord 550 through there. But if you were making a little Altoids tin survival kit, I think this would fit in nicely. There's your blade centering. You can see that's a little off and a little flexible there, but you know, still, when you lock it up, you don't have too much play, or and not any serious play that I can make happen there. So this actually is a very attractive little knife. If you want to see more, Canadian Cutting Edge has a full video on this knife alone. I would recommend you look that one up, and we'll move on from here. Next up is a blade that should look familiar to most of you. It's the Sanrenmu 7010. This is in the black finish. This one is a fairly classic blade. See the little panther jumping out on the flames on the handle, the Sanrenmu logo. And on the back we have the exact nomenclature of the one that is the black, I guess a stonewash finish. It is a frame lock, the pocket clip, and the dimensions on the blade are 2.76 inches, or about 7 centimeters. The overall length is 6.5 inches, or about 16.5 centimeters. And the weight on this is 91 grams, or about 3.2 ounces. This is a blade most people are familiar with. It's a pretty common, cheap knife. This is a $6.66 at the time I ordered it, and I believe it's pretty much right there now. Blade centering is pretty decent. Dual thumb studs. Ergos on this are nice, and that's probably why it's as popular as it is. It does have a little jimping on the back of the blade. Nice firm lockup. It's not going anywhere. It's an 8CR, I believe 14 MOV. And just to compare it, I've also got that blade in the more, I think this is probably the more common way that it looks, with the stainless, you know, the not without the black wash. And you can see the nomenclature on that one as well, but in all other respects it is identical. So you know, a blade so nice, I ordered it twice, and certainly that tells you a lot about what I think about this knife as a knife that you can purchase for under $7, shipped from China. All right. Next up, we have the Sanrenmu 7095. This has a claret checkerboard G10 handle, pocket clip, kind of a deep carry style. You do have the sort of rainbow anodized liners there. As you can see there, a little lanyard loop at the end. And you can see from the nomenclature, actually let me open it up. Oh yeah, this one is the single thumb stud there. So you can see you don't have the thumb stud on that side. This is the Windrunner design, and there's the full nomenclature of the blade. And that blade is actually a 12C28. So I'm guessing Sandvik steel. Nice grind on that. Flat top with a nice pointed tip there. It is the liner lock. You do have pretty good ergos on this, some jimping on the back. Full, I would say full 4-finger grip on this fairly comfortably. This knife, when I purchased it, was $660, and now current pricing puts it a little over $10. I think it was on a flash sale, but I'm still counting it in my under 7 because it was under 7 when I bought it. You can see, I guess that's a better way to see it, an open pillar design. There's your blade centering. Again, not perfect. Seems to be a little bit of pretty decent. Judge for yourself there. But kind of an interesting little blade. I like the different steel, kind of getting away from the normal HCR type stuff. And handle color is nice. The anodizing is a little bit different, but overall, for about $6.60, a really good candidate for a pocket carry. Ergos are nice. There's the liner lock, as you can see. So there you go. Now on to the Enlan EM01. This is an HCR 13 MOV blade. It is, you can see it right there on the blade. It is the EM01 Enlan brand designation. You can see the dual thumb studs. There is no jimping on the back of this blade. You do have a G10 handle with a right side tip up pocket clip, and it is a one position clip, a lanyard hole, a liner lock. You can see the blade centering there is decent. Easy to flick out. Lockup is pretty solid, side to side and up and down. No issues there. The dimensions on this, you have a blade length of 2.83 inches, which is 7.2 centimeters. You have an overall length of 6.3 inches, which is 16 centimeters, and a weight on this one of 73 grams, or about 2.58 ounces. I can get a pretty good 3.5, almost a full 4-finger grip on this if I choke up into this place for your thumb to go. Feels good with that grip. You can see that it's an open pillar design with 3 standoffs there, plus your stop pin, steel liners on the G10, a little bit of jimping on the liner lock to make it easy to move. But again, this was a $5.99 blade. I think for under $6 you're not going to find too many things in this category with that size and that feels good in the hand. I think this would be a great office EDC gentleman's light to medium use pocket folder. So there you have it, the Enlan EM01. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Gorilla, you've already shown us the 7D10 from Sanrenmu. This is not that blade. This is, believe it or not, the Enlan F710. There you can see the Enlan logo on the blade, and you're saying it is essentially the same thing as the Sanrenmu 7010, and you would in many respects be correct. It looks very, very similar to that blade. But I do want to point out, and I guess we'll finish talking about this, it does have, the musical note pattern on there, which I've been told does not actually equate to any kind of a song or playable tune. It does have kind of a black, and it's not paint, it almost feels like a rubberized vinyl coating on there all the way around the perimeter of this knife, which does give you a little bit better gripping portion. There's your blade centering. You can see that against the white background, not bad. The blade material, as you can imagine, still the 8CR13 MOV. Nice grind on the blade, nice tip. Again, a frame lock and a pocket clip and a lanyard hole. So what are the differences? Well, let's take a look at a few of them, and primarily that's going to be in where the standoffs go in. If you look, this is the 7010 from Sanrenmu. If you look right at the base of the first standoff, you can see on the Enlan it's higher, whereas on the Sanreimu it's almost right in that little notch, that angle. Also, you can see that as you put these together, the second standoff is much closer to the lanyard hole than it is on the Sanrenmu above. And finally, you'll notice you have the notch out there for the frame lock, whereas on the Sanrenmu it is an internal notch out versus the external notch out. So those are some of the differences I noted between the two blades. So there you have it, the Enlan 710. And now the Sanrenmu 605. You've got the G10, kind of the red G10 handles. You've got stainless steel liner locks. You've got a tip-up right side pocket clip, one position only, and a single thumb stud on this one. So we will open it up. Nice Sanrenmu logo with the 605 nomenclature on the blade. This is, of course, the 8CR13 MOV blade. You'll notice that it does have a grind on both sides. You'll see the relevance of that in a moment. But you do have an upper choil here that does allow for such a small knife a full 4-finger grip if you're choking up on it. The dimensions on this, you've got a blade length of 2.2 inches or 5.7 centimeters, an overall length of 5.27 inches or 13.4 centimeters, and a knife that is 42 grams or well under 2 ounces, probably like 1.6, 1.7 ounces. There you can see the lockup on the liner lock. Let's go ahead and close it. You can see the blade centering. Again, probably not perfect, but pretty close for a knife that has a total price of about $5.13, depending on what time you order it at. Now, this knife is essentially the sibling of this knife, which is the Sanrenmu 604. This has a green G10 handle, also liner lock, also the liners in there. Pocket clip tip-up position only. Here you can see the Sanrenmu on the pocket clip. Now notice that while you can see the grind on this side, the tanto point and the chisel grind, on the other side it is completely flat without any grinding at all. And again, the single pocket clip. So counting this, even though these are two distinct obviously models and blades, I'm going to count it as one, also in the $5-6 range for the 604. So there you have it, the Sanrenmu 605 and 604, both blades that are in the dollar and change range. And finally, what survey of under $7 knives could be complete without the Ozark Trail flipper? This is a G10 tan handle with a tip down pocket clip in one position. You do have a liner lock with some jimping on it, stainless steel liners. This by far has the longest blade at 3 inches and I believe about a 4-inch handle. This is what I would consider a full-size knife compared to the ones we've been looking at. You've got jimping on the ramp back here. Now the blade itself is probably it's a mystery steel, but I'm guessing it's either a kind of in the neighborhood of the 3CR or maybe the 420. You do have kind of a stonewash look on that. I've seen a lot of other channels do torture tests on this blade, and it held up surprisingly well. So again, you get a good purchase on it. You get the largest blade. You get, I wouldn't call it centered, but close enough. Dual thumb studs and scalloped G10 handle. Nice ergos. There's a lot of merits to a blade that only is going to cost you $3.87. So this is going to wrap up my look at 7 blades under $7. The Ozark Trail Walmart Special. Now we're going to look real quickly at a couple knives that didn't make the cut in the 7 under 7 category. First one up is a Sanrenmu 4024. I looked at this, and when I received it, it's a single thumb stud. It does have a pocket clip. It is a frame lock. It has some gold trim, or whatever you want to call that, gold coloring along the edges of the knife. You do have some jimping on the back of the blade as well as on the back of the handle. Looks like just a couple of a stop bar, a standoff, and the pivot itself are the 3 support structures. The reason it didn't make the cut for me is that with my large gorilla-like paws, I found it almost impossible to get the thumb stud to open the blade one-handed. It can be done, but it's a real fight, and too much of a fight for me to let this knife go into my selection. You do have a 1.77 inch blade, which is 4.5 centimeters, an 11.2 centimeter overall length, which is about 4.4 inches. There's your nomenclature on the blade. This appears to be 8CR13 MOV. I paid about $5.50. I think it's currently about $6.50. I originally thought that it was going to look or be similar, I guess I didn't check the dimensions too carefully, to the squid. It bears a faint resemblance to the cricket squid, but obviously a much smaller blade overall. If these dimensions would be a little bit bigger, it would be a close enough of a resemblance that for $5 or $6 it would have been a good or reasonable alternative, but it is not. And you may like it. It may hit the right buttons for you, but for me, the fact that it's that difficult to open with one hand kind of precluded it from making it into my top 7. Next up is the Sanrenmu 6026. This is an 8CR 14 MOV blade. You can get it in a satin. I chose the black. There you can see the blade nomenclature. It does say China on the blade. It does have a slight recurve on it. It does have a deep carry pocket clip, lanyard hole. It is the open back design, frame lock, kind of a wild pattern. I guess there's a couple different multicolor patterns like this that you can get on the blade. Just wasn't my cup of tea, in part because this flipper just doesn't really work at all. You know, it's enough to push the blade out, and then you can use the thumb stud the rest of the way, but it's probably necessary because it's difficult to use the thumb studs by themselves. But you know, that combination just kind of doesn't work. I have to use the flipper to get it started, and then use the thumb stud the rest of the way. You know, might be just this particular blade that has that issue. I don't tweak my blades. I like to be able to use them out of the box. I've seen other YouTube videos where people have ground parts off, ground this little back end off to round it, and done other things to make it more acceptable to them. But for me, I kind of want to know that it's good for me out of the box. So you can see pretty much a full 3-finger grip on this. You do have, like I said, the jimping on there. You do have jimping on the lower back end here. And you know, it's not a bad looking blade. It just didn't make the cut for me. The length is 5 inches overall, 12.8 centimeters, 2-inch blade, or 5.1 centimeters, and about 53 grams, or about 1.87 ounces. So again, this did not make the cut, although, you know, you may find it perfectly agreeable for your purposes. And again, given the size, you know, this could be an easy keychain or Altoids type tin small organizer backup knife. So where does this leave us in a final conclusion? You're seeing on the table in front of you the 12 blades that I've at least talked about at some point during the video today. Now, 3 of those are in the 710 style, so obviously I like that style, and I guess if I had to pick one of these to bet my life on, it would probably be this original stainless frame lock 7010 from Sanrenmu. Although I've seen the torture tests on the Ozark, and being that it's the biggest 3-inch blade, full size grip handle, that would be probably a close second. A lot of the other knives certainly would serve a purpose to make a nice little office type knife, small pocket knife that's non-threatening to everybody. But if you look there and you say there's 12 knives that were all under $7, call it $6 on average, that's $72. What would I recommend? Save your money, or take that $72 and get yourself the Spyderco Delica. By far, for that amount of money, now that gives you, you know, a lot of alternate blades, but nothing for the same amount of money beats this Delica. So there you go. Instead of spending a bunch of money on a bunch of tiny blades, save up, buy a good blade. It's money better spent. Not that the Sanreimus don't have their place. I do like the Sanreimus and the Enlans, and I've certainly got a considerable number of those in my collection, and I guess I'll be hanging on to them as well. But I have grown to appreciate the just much higher quality and better utilitarian purpose of knives, like some of the Spydercos, mid-range Spydercos. So this is the 400-pound gorilla, wishing you a good day. Gorilla out.